your host, Christene Marie, and tonight's conversation is actually selected by someone in our community. They were asking just why is heartbreak so hard and how do you get over somebody? And I thought it was actually a very appropriate conversation because it's something that for me I had never ever experienced until I was in the throes of it. No conversations really took place until I was kind of in dire need for the answer. And so whether you're in the process of, I guess, needing this conversation or just wanting to participate in advance of it, um, or maybe you've already had heartbreak, maybe you've actually been through hell and back and you've got some real truth and perspective to share. And so I'm excited that you're here, regardless of what category you fall into. And it's interesting. I I had only ever dated one person, and then married them. And I think for so many of us, it doesn't all those love songs, all about loss, all about brokenness, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense until we actually go through it, until we're actually in that really, really dark night of the soul in so many ways. And here's what's so interesting. Just because we go through a heartbreak, it doesn't mean that we actually allow ourselves to be broken open. I was on a podcast today and we were talking about how you really can go through so much pain but not allow brokenness to do its work. And the work of brokenness is to break open and allow us to see the truth of what's inside. But if we're not allowing ourselves to actually, it's like falling apart. If we don't allow ourselves to be broken open and allow ourselves to fall apart, we don't actually get to see what's inside. And so there's something around looking within, pulling back the curtain, pulling back the veil, hiding us that from access to those dark parts of our hearts or dark parts of our souls that maybe we otherwise would have never seen, apart from this breaking open, apart from falling apart and allowing ourselves to really be completely raw and exposed. And in allowing ourselves to be exposed, we get to come to know ourselves in a whole new way. For so many years, I had really abided by the rules and lived according to how everybody else wanted me to be, kind of operating within the box that was set forth. And what's funny is that I had actually achieved success until then. I had been receiving love and been receiving the success in terms of connection that I had wanted to from my family, from the church environment that I was raised in, from the school. There was perks in operating in the box. There was perks of looking and sounding like everybody else. And so I never learned to push back and never learned to kind of push the boundaries and ask the hard questions. It was just easier to operate within the confines of the structure that was set forth. And I was successful in it, and everybody who followed the rules was successful. And success for me meant connection with other people. And so I had never really experienced that by pushing the boundaries or by asking the hard questions, there's a different kind of success that is within that space, which is to actually come to know the truth. And not always, we don't always have to push the boundaries to get to know the truth. However, there is something around asking the hard questions to begin with. And so, because connection was the goal, and I knew that my one way of seeking connection was to, stay within this carefully curated box. When I started sensing that something wasn't right in my previous marriage, I never really pushed too hard. I kind of pushed a little bit, but then when I got met with, I guess you could say, resistance, I just threw my hands up and I was like, no problem, we're good. And I never pushed the line, even though internally I knew something was wrong. And so effectively, I allowed intuition to die. I allowed for myself and that inner quiet voice to really be silenced for the sake of connection. And so what ends up happening is when we choose someone else and choose connection with other people, we sacrifice ourself on the altar of connection. And that's what's so devastating when we slowly start to quiet our internal voice. We really actually lose connection with it. So, in the pursuit of connection of other people, we lose connection with ourselves. And so, then when we experience this time of heartbreak, it's not like we have a safe place to land internally because we've been betraying ourselves along the way. We've been abandoning our own self for the sake of relationship with them. And so, in this question of how do you recover from heartbreak, so much of the recovery process is actually recovering our relationship with our own self to begin with, because we abandoned it however long ago in the past for the sake of this relationship. And not always, you can go through heartbreak and still have a relationship with yourself, but how much better, how much safer of a place to land when you have not abandoned yourself along the way. And then you've got the tenderness that you can receive from within you rather than outsourcing care. Because if you've been outsourcing your worth, then when your heart's broken and you questioning your worth to begin with, you still are looking externally. You're just looking for a different source. It's like when you've got your electrical socket and you get unplugged from the person who was having you plugged in for so long, where you were getting your love, you were getting your worth, you were getting your energy from that person. And then they're like, oh, we're done. And you're like, okay, where do I plug this in? And you're searching and searching for somewhere else to plug in to. Which socket can I put this into? Rather than being self-sourced and recognizing, you know what? I actually am really hurt by that, and I do have heartbreak, but I actually can be internally sourced. I don't need to plug myself into somebody else to garner my value in life. So, before we keep going, I'm just going to go ahead and check in with the chat. Good evening, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm so glad to see you all. Ogie Love, thank you for coming. Troy Boy, maybe next time. Newbie Boone, thanks for coming on here. Karthik, thank you for coming on. Good to see you. Felipeo, hello. Lambda, hello from Austria, Vienna. I've been to Austria and it's so beautiful. Vienna's stunning. I actually need to go back. I feel like I didn't do Vienna well, but it was just so pristine and so beautiful. Ogie, no, I am not AI. Karthik, tonight, I'm sorry, Casey Schaefer says, excuse me, what's the topic? We're talking about recovering from heartbreak. Someone in the knowing community asked for us to talk about this, and so this is the topic for tonight. Hello from England. Hello, thank you for joining. JD, hello. Leonardo. I stopped talking for 1 second. There we go. Bronwyn, we're doing this. He says, why are we doing this? We're talking about this because, frankly, this is probably one of the most important conversations at the moment of brokenness, is so often the catalyst for so much growth. It's like the story of the phoenix rising. The phoenix has to get to the ashes in order for it to rise from there. And it's like the same transformation of the caterpillar to the butterfly. If we don't allow ourselves to enter the cocoon, and I never knew this, but a caterpillar in the cocoon completely dissolves and it smells horrible. It's like it dies, like truly, truly, it goes through death. The cocoon is the place of transformation, and it also is the grave of the caterpillar. And on the other side, yes, it's a beautiful butterfly, but man, is so much death along the way. And it's in one sense it's devastating. The caterpillar is completely gone. It's completely dead. And so the question is for you and me in this moment of heartbreak, are we going to allow ourselves to be able to have whatever needs to die for the purpose of coming out completely changed and better than ever before? But the death process is painful. So in saying, why are we talking about this? This is why, is because these are the moments that are so important in our lives, and they warrant us looking in the mirror and talking about them. Frankly, I never had anyone talk to me about heartbreak before. And so when I went through it for the first time, it was agonizing. It truly, truly was. It felt like death. No one talks about grieving the living. They talk about grieving the dead. And I had done that. My sister lost her husband. And then when I lost mine because he left, not because he chose to leave, whereas my sister's husband, my brother-in-law, he would have done anything to stay. And so it's this interesting time where we encounter brokenness, and the question is, do we have what it takes? Do we know the right tools? My sister didn't know how to encounter grief, of that kind of death. I didn't know how to encounter grief with this kind of death. And so that's why we're talking about it, because in the external world, when there's death around us, deaths of people, death of relationship, death of jobs, that is when it so often leads to a death of ourselves in so many ways, for the purpose of a greater and more profound life on the other side. There's a book called The Second Mountain by David Brooks, and he talks about the first mountain. And so many people summit the first mountain, which is effectively the mountain of self. We're pursuing our own goals, our dreams. We're going to college. We're pursuing what we feel called to, what's exciting for us. And at some point, we experience that that's not the end all be all. And you see it with celebrities and people who have all the fame, all the fortune, and they're like, this isn't it. I actually got it, and I realized that it didn't hold the real fulfillment and happiness for me. And so then he talks about the second mountain, and it's effectively the choice of, am I going to summit this second mountain, which is for the collective, for the good of the community, rather than just operating for the good of myself? And in that process, in the transformation of moving from mountain A to mountain B, we all of a sudden get this like zoomed out perspective of just how big life is, and how many people there are to love, how many people there are to celebrate, and what part we get to play in that. But for so long as we have this like little narrow view of life and of ourselves, it's going to be hard for us to really be able to walk in the fullness of how we can live, our calling, and our potential, and who we can really impact as a result. So I'm going to jump back over here to the chat. I also am noticing my internet is a little janky, and so I'm going to close out a couple of things. I don't know what happened to my internet, but over the last couple of days has not been happy. So let me close out a few things. Hopefully I'm still with you all. I had it happen one time where it was like 3 minutes and it just completely cut me out. I was like, well, I guess this is meant to be. Like, this is just not working at all. And I got so disconnected. But anyways, I'm closing tabs, so give me 1 second. I would love to know here in the chat what everyone's up to on a Friday night and how everyone's doing. All right, I think I am slowly coming back to you. Very, very slowly. Okay. What is everybody up to on a Friday night? Also, for those of you who are new here, we are starting to have a game night every single week. So we had our second trivia night. This Wednesday, and we're going to start having game night once a week. So I'm really excited about that. We talk all things emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence in the evenings, and then in the mornings we talk about spiritual intelligence. And so then we're going to start having fun on, I think, Wednesdays. Wednesdays would be great. All right. I am just checking in here. All right. Yay. I'm back. Back to the chat. All right. Just checking in. Hello. Punani. Good to see you. Jay Chris. Good to see you. Brian, I'm so glad you're back. Benny Thomas, Michael Grimes. Y'all, I'd love to know what you're up to tonight. Happy Friday. Tell me what you're up to in the chat, and we're going to go back to this topic. How do you recover from heartbreak? So one of the most formative things that I guess I did throughout my heartbreak, I really disconnected and disengaged from the external world. And in one sense, that sounds weird, because it's like, well, you need love and you need people and you're lonely and you're so sad. But y'all, I had been so addicted to loving other people and being connected to other people, and I did. There was kind of an addiction because I had never experienced life apart from this constant stimulus of everybody around me. And so I really needed to be able to exist in isolation and put this thing down and really be in the quiet and solitude of my own soul. Like, who am I? And asking those hard questions, because one of the things that's so interesting is like, do have I done the work to be able to be okay with myself when I am alone and when I am not with other people in community and in connection with them? Am I able to find the meaning without somebody else constantly telling me that I'm worth it, without somebody else constantly telling me that I'm enough? Can I be okay alone? And you know what? I'm so sorry, guys. I just got a note from they're at my new apartment dropping off a table, and they say that they need the door code. So, I'd actually love to hear from you guys in the chat. Should I just peace out and come back on here tomorrow night and do a part 2? Or are you guys cool hanging on for like 3 minutes while I go get the door code and send it to them? This is very unusual. What should I do, guys? Tell me in the chat. Will you guys hang on while I go do that? Or um this is bad. Let me just see. Should I do a part 2 tomorrow night? Or do you guys want to hang out 2 minutes? And you guys can chat in the chat while I go do that. You need to open a new account, and I think that they're just trying to get me to open a new account with them because that helps their commission, but I decided to do it. Okay. I'm literally putting you here on the stairs while I get the door code. All right. Here's my resident information. 1721. That is the code. Hashtag 1721. All right. And then all right. Y'all are the best. I can't believe this. This is what happens, I guess, when you go live every day. Poonani says, come back, please. I'm sorry. I hear nothing but loneliness. Oh, no. Can you guys not hear? Oh, my gosh, Qasim, you're amazing. We got it. Oh, my gosh, you're wonderful. Darling just joined the live and says we're all good. Oh, my gosh, you're amazing. Okay. All right, y'all, we're back in business. That's so funny. You know what was so funny? I was actually going to cook with you guys tonight. And I was like, I'm going to like live my life with everybody. and I decided not to. But maybe at some point I will literally like cook with you because this show is like right around dinner time. Hi, so good to see you. Thank you for bearing with me. That is so funny. I love that this happened. Jefferson says, "Are you AI?" Clearly, you haven't been here for the last 5 minutes. No, I'm not AI. All that to say. Okay. Hulk says the man in the hat here beats me at everything. I know the man in the hat says now change your code. Well, you don't know where I live, so there's a ton of gate codes in the U.S. That's so funny. All right. I'm actually him though. Thanks for joining. All right, Poonani, you can hear me. All right, y'all. Back to it. How do you recover from heartbreak? Y'all, this conversation, for those of you who are just joining, I was mentioning earlier why this really matters and why this is so important is because these are the moments that really are like the hallmark of the potential catalyst for us to change, for us to experience so much growth, for us to even experience healing, because in the death process, on the other side of that is healing. On the other side of that is new life. And it's like I mean, honestly, it's like the pains of childbearing. Like you're getting rid of something. You're letting go of something. It's been inside you and you're getting rid of either the pain you've been carrying or you're getting rid of the bitterness or you're getting rid of even a relationship maybe. But on the other side of that is new life. Like you've got this new entity. You've got this new being of either you or like the child. And it's good and it's beautiful and it brings healing. Like that newness of life brings healing to you and me. But it's painful to get to that process. And so with this whole conversation of heartbreak, you know, it's something to be really almost like cherished. I watched this video and the man said he was kind of bullish. He was like, "I actually look forward to heartbreak because every time I move through it, I know that it expands me. Basically, so long as I can survive the heartbreak, I know it will expand my capacity for love on the other side of that." And I had just like this picture in my head a couple years ago when I was going through like the worst of it. And I just pictured like almost like a pickaxe and a shovel like scooping out the insides of me, just like how deep it went. It was like the pain just went on and deeper and it went on and on. But in that process, I could tell things were getting scooped out. Things that had been there for so many years, like the facade was coming down, all the false pretense that I didn't even know was there. I think that's a big part of it is we don't even know. We don't even realize what needs to go until the mirror's held up for us and we're like, "Oh, that's in there." And in that process, we come to see the truth. It's like flipping on the light switch, but then we have to take action as a result of it. So, how do you recover from heartbreak? Honestly, I'd love to hear y'all's feedback on this. Like for those of you, I've been through one. Um, yeah, Michael Grimes says heartbreak is death if you don't get away from it. Wow, interesting. Face says, "I've never." I think you're saying I've never had it. Um, I do wonder, for those of you who have experienced heartbreak, I'd love to know from you what has been really formative for you in your journey towards healing, in your journey towards um, not even just healing, but really changing, like really growing, truly altering even like parts of who you are, because on the other side of this heartbreak is this amazing opportunity to rise and become the phoenix in so many ways. So I'd love to know what was really, really meaningful for you, a practice, a habit, even a decision that you guys made during that time. So I would love to hear from you if you've got kind of like a story to share, a practice for me that was really helpful. I actually had my puppy at the time and I would take him on daily walks and I would not listen to music. I would not listen to music and I would just leave my phone. And that was really the first time I cultivated being, like being in nature, being alone with my thoughts, and I had never experienced that before. But in that process, in the quiet and the solitude, I began to hear from that inner voice for the first time and kind of like having it come back. Um, I'm just looking here at the chat. Um, Also, sorry, my internet is so terrible. I don't know what's happening, but it looks like my camera just turned off. I don't know if it did, but I'll just keep going. Um, just looking through here. All right. All right. So, what are practices you all have implemented in your own healing journey, and what worked? What did you like? What was really meaningful for you? Jay Lucas says, "Stay positive." Mm. Viking Lloyd, broken bones mend, heartbreak is forever. I'm curious, I wonder if maybe there is that heartbreak, but I've found healing. So I'm curious for you, is there